Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and again on Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on KATX and KWBY as Angela Robinson joins Stace Gaddy to share important financial information to help you live life on purpose, insurance, investments, estate and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
Good morning, my friends. Always a pleasure to join you. Life Planning 101 on the air. I'm Stace Gaddy, Angela Robinson from Kennedy Financial Services, our guest and expert. Good morning, ma'am.
Good morning. Now, I feel like we need like one of those beep, beep, beep. This is not a test of the emergency broadcast system with Brexit going on. I just have to say, right?
Okay.
So, very appropriate as we sit here in the midst of this little mini series that we're having of these 6 lessons learned from the Great Recession, and we have the Dow that went down over 600 points last Friday.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, right?
Yes.
So what is that all about? And we're going to be talking about that on the show. In fact, we're going to have our in-house chartered financial analyst on the show with us later, and he's going to be talking about that, talking about what you potentially should be doing with your portfolio right now. So let's get to it quickly so we can get on to that. We do want to touch on another topic. Last week we talked about a retirement plan not blowing bubbles, and I guess really we're going to add another one to the story with this Brexit because there might have been some people that were overly allocated, meaning you have too much in one thing that you end up getting hurt. And you got to be careful of that. But this show, I'm going to kind of switch the gears because I'm going to talk about something that everybody has on their mind, and that is integrity in today's world. And, when you're dealing with a financial crisis like 2008 and 2009 that was so treacherous, you all of a sudden couldn't believe anybody. You couldn't trust anybody. Here was our government, couldn't trust them. We had the banks that we always considered a safe place, right? Couldn't trust them. And then to add to that, then you have people like Bernie Madoff that makes off with, $50 billion. So
plus mortgages, which are supposed to be safe.
Right, exactly. And all that was covered up, right, by all these entities that are supposed to protect us and be there for us. So what do? It's kind of like being in the Sahara Desert, and integrity is kind of like water. You can't find it, right?
Can't find it anywhere.
You can't find it anywhere. So, the question then becomes, well, then I'll just go it alone. Well, there are very few people that can successfully go it alone. I don't know if you've ever read the book by Malcolm Gladwell. It's called Outliers. You ever heard of that book?
No, ma'am.
It's a great book. And, he talks a lot about achievement, how to become very successful in whatever your passion is in life. And he says, no matter what you do, it takes at least 10,000 hours of practice to attain true expertise in something. 10,000 hours. And that equates to about 10 years. Right? So unless you spent 10 years of full-time work practicing on what to do with your investments, how do you expect to be able to know what to do? And a lot of people say, well, I should be able to know what to do. I can just look anything up I want to look up today. And, that may be a good thing and that may be a bad thing. I will tell you, we do a lot of research. We're constantly, this, we do a show every week and we're researching things in addition to our normal resources that we get information from. We're always looking things up on the internet. And, when we do that, you get free advice everywhere and you can find something that says, oh, things should be this way and there's a white paper on it. And then in 2 moments later, find something that totally counteracts that. And there's a white paper on that as well. So,
May I interrupt you?
Yeah.
I did the math. 10,000 hours is roughly 20 hours every single week.
That's right.
You're devoting to just that thing.
That's right. Devoting.
Yeah, nothing else.
That's right.
Just that.
Practicing.
Yeah.
Okay. And so, when you get in the idea that, you've got all this information out there to decipher from, how do you know what it is? And there's, 5 great risks in what we call the do-it-yourself system. Number 1 is procrastination. Mm-hmm. When it comes to our own stuff, we are the cobbler without our own shoes, right? We always procrastinate. Mm-hmm. Number 2, pride. It's at the bottom of all great mistakes, if you think about it. We all think we know what's best, but as the world changes, does that really mean that's what's best? You got to ask yourself that question. Pride will kill you. And oftentimes it's what we don't know that we don't know. You've heard me say that before. It's what we don't know that we don't know that will hurt us. And if you have pride in the way, you're not going to be asking the right questions to find that out. So you got to be careful of that. Number 3 is staying disciplined. We talked about being emotionally attached to your money. Are you emotionally attached to your money?
Me?
Yeah.
Difficult question. I'm not really, no.
If you spent your whole life saving it, are you emotionally attached to your money?
Yes.
Yes.
In general, I would say that people are.
Yes, we are emotionally attached to our money when we put our own blood, sweat, hard work, and tears into something, right? And so is it always good decisions when they're emotional decisions?
No. You covered that last time.
Yes, we did.
Amygdala.
That's right. That is right. So, you have that working against you. So that's number 3. Number 4 is that free advice we just talked about. Half a dozen one way, 6 another. You're going to find it out there all over the place, and nothing's going to get you, exactly what you need to do. 2 different theories could mean 2 different things, and one could be totally right, one could be totally wrong. Both could be totally wrong. So think about that for a minute. And then number 5, what if something happens to you? What about your spouse? Do they have someone else that has 10,000 hours of mastery that you can entrust their well-being to?
And even if you had put in 10,000 hours of mastery, your spouse does not have your brain.
That's right.
In their head.
That's exactly right. And, I will say this. We read a lot. We study a lot. But you know what the greatest learner for us is? The experiences of the people that we work with. Because we haven't lived every person's life out there. We haven't done it. But the more people that we work with, the more experiences we gather. And if it's just you working for yourself, how many experiences do you get?
Only yours.
Yeah. How many times do you get to retire? Maybe once, maybe twice if you're lucky, right? But still, having to go at that the first time without that experience is something else, right? So when we come back, we're going to talk about what the endowment funds do. Yale, Harvard, Princeton, that spend millions of dollars every year on financial advice. Don't want to miss that. And also, don't forget to go on our poll at KFS Life Planning. Let us know, with this Brexit in place, do you have a plan? Ouch! And don't forget, you can download our free report, the 6 lessons learned from the recession. Probably more important now than it was a week ago when we talked about it.
Very good. You're listening to Life Planning 101. Angela Robinson dropping knowledge on us. Keep it right here. We'll take a short break. We'll be right back.
My name is Angela Robinson of Kennedy Financial Services. Do you have concerns about your financial future? Do you not worry about having enough income in retirement, paying too much in taxes, the stock market, the cost of living going up, or being sued? And what about your family? Taking care of your wife, husband, if something were to happen to you? What about your legacy? Do you wonder what will happen to it when you're gone? Will there be good Christmases and Thanksgivings among your children? We know we haven't lived your life, but we have lived these experiences and concerns through the lives of our clients for more than 27 years. Join us on Mondays at 8:30 a.m. or Saturdays at 9 a.m. for Life Planning 101, a show dedicated to giving you confidence in your financial future so you may enjoy what we call living life on purpose. And while you're at it, email us your questions for the show at lifeplanning@kennedy-financial.com. And remember, don't miss this week because it could possibly be the one piece of advice that changes your life. Securities and investment advisory services offered through VSR Financial Services Incorporated, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA and SIPC. Kennedy Financial Services is not owned or controlled by VSR Financial Services Incorporated.
Thank you, Angela Robinson, for that promotional material. And now we shall continue with the aforementioned Life Planning 101. Angela Robinson, live in person. Good morning.
Good morning. And we were talking about integrity being everything, especially in a world like today. There's a lot of chaos going on. And, who do you trust? How do you know that you can trust them? And I think, you always do your technical investigation on somebody and go look them up and research their background and get to know them and then ask them questions about things that are on their background, because I don't think there's very many people that don't have a blip of some sort, because we're all human. But the biggest question is really testing that integrity, but asking them, what they would do in certain situations. And, what I found is that if you find somebody that's going to tell you an answer that you don't like, you could probably trust them. Mm-hmm. If you think about it, if they always tell you everything that you want to hear, does that mean that you can trust them? They're probably just trying to sell you something, right? But if you get someone that says, well, can I be honest with you? And they throw everything out on the table, which is often what we need to hear. We always want one thing, but what we actually need may be a totally different thing. And, oftentimes, I hate to tell you this, but, I'd say probably 90% of the time that we have people come into our office, they have an idea that these are my dreams and goals, and these are the things that I want to accomplish, and I think I can do. And we have to say, well, you're going to have to make some choices.
Not on this plan.
Yeah, because here's the deal. To accomplish those things, you've got to make some choices. You've got to be able to do a little something different than what you're accustomed to do. We all want our cake and eat it too, right? That's the saying. But, I think that's the biggest thing. So with that, we do have a special guest, and I'm going to give him extra time on the show today because, like we talked about, we are after post-vote of Brexit, and I know there's a lot of concerns and a lot of people wondering out there, what do we do now? The market is tumbling. The futures were down again this morning. We started the show right as the market opened, so I didn't get a chance to look at how things looked, but I know the futures were down again this morning. And what does all of this mean? And I want you to keep in mind, when we were talking right before the break, we asked, why would the endowment funds like Yale and Harvard and Princeton spend millions of dollars in advice every year on financial advisors? Why do you think they do that? And if they do it, do you think maybe you need to do it? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we always think about if we pay somebody 1% to manage our money, or 3/4 of a basis point to manage our money, or a percentage to manage our money, is that expensive? Well, I want to remind you, remember that statistic we talked about? The average investor makes like a 2% return when the market returns like 9%. Okay, 1% is a lot less than that. So I just want you to keep that in the back of your mind as we go through some of this information today, because we're going to share some great information, and then we're going to talk to you about a portfolio that we built out. Now, we have to speak in generic terms, but we're going to talk to you about a portfolio, and I say we. It was really my brother. I have to give him credit. Built out that was able to, get those market-like returns, but control the risk. How do we do that, right?
Okay.
So let's start out talking about Brexit. What do we need to know about what's going on with Europe right now? Everything that's happening in the market. Should we be panicked? Should we be excited? What should we be?
Good morning, everybody. Brexit, that was a big shock to everybody, and we all knew that it was a possibility, but didn't really see it actually happening. What this basically means is Great Britain is moving out of the European Union. Their trading partners in the European rules, along with their trading regulations, will be severed in the future. Not to say that those trading partners will be gone forever, but they will have to make new trade agreements, and they're going to have to make new trade agreements with everybody else. So going forward, it doesn't mean that this is going to be a good thing, or it doesn't mean it's a bad thing, but they just have to bring in new trade regulations, new trading partners, new trading deals for everyone. And this isn't going to. I heard it this morning be put like this. He said, "This is just like a regular divorce." And divorces take a lot longer than you could ever anticipate.
And they're ugly.
And
So, uncertain. Isn't that what's killing us?
Yes. And looking at the market, the market is always overblown. If you look at a trading day, a trading week, or trading year, it is always governed by emotion. And guess what emotion's out there right now? Oh my God! So
I was going to say fear. Yeah. That was much better.
That was way better, wasn't it?
That's where we are right now. So, instead of, since we don't know what's going to happen, it is completely unknown. And we know the world's not going to fall apart. We don't know a growth trajectory. That's it, a growth trajectory. So, the better plan going forward would be saying, hey, that stock's down 50%. Maybe we need to take a closer look on that. Maybe there's some opportunity there, and I think that's where the real homework needs to start happening at this point, because things are overblown.
Yeah, and I think you said homework, and that's a very good point, because I read one article, and it goes back to that, what we were talking about earlier in the show is that you can read two things just with free research and get two totally different opinions. Well, yeah. I saw this on Brexit this morning. I was reading one, and it said, okay, this is going to be hurt, and this is going to be hurt, and this is going to be hurt, and this is going to be hurt. Talking about these different industries and different sectors because of what is happening with Brexit. And then I turned over and I saw, well, this is going to be gaining, and this is going to be gaining, and this is going to be gaining. And, I think it's important, one was a totally bullish article and one was totally bearish. And, and I think it's important for, like Aaron said, we need to buy fear, right? As Warren Buffett tells us. Well, buy that.
Exactly right.
Oh my gosh, or however you put it.
Well, one of the biggest things is you look at the pound sterling right now, and it is cratering. I mean, it is dropped to as of Friday around 130, 133,
and it was 160, something like that.
Yeah, it was close to there.
Yeah,
it's back down to the 1980s levels.
Yeah, so that's a fear of what the growth trajectories is on Great Britain. But guess what? They just got 25% more competitive in the world. Their goods just got 25% more competitive.
I bet those trading agreements look pretty decent.
Yeah. So, I mean, if you're investing for tomorrow and you're doing day trading, gosh, this is scary. But if you're looking out there, hey, I'm not retiring for 20 years or even 5, this is some good opportunity.
Or even if you are retired and you're going to stay retired for the next 20 years, right?
Yeah, there is no reason to throw in the towel. Look at what's going to happen the third week in July. Who knows? And it's not that big of a deal because we have our whole lives. And it's times like this is that you can really make a difference in your portfolio by staying disciplined and making good decisions.
Well, you heard it. Let's talk about those good decisions when we come back.
Very good. You're listening to Life Planning 101. Information you're not going to find anywhere else, folks. Keep it right here. Welcome in, folks, to the final segment of Life Planning 101. I'm Stace Gaddy, Angela Robinson, our guest and expert.
We've been working with families for more than 25 years, helping them manage their wealth. And Aaron kept, I guess you stayed in school forever and ever, and he finally told me he was done. He wasn't going to go anymore.
That's it.
When he got this CFA, because it is kind of like the designation of all types that, that's what the guys on Wall Street have that are actually looking at the analytics all the time, and that's what he did. And we had a family last week that we were working with and helping them try to reduce risk in their portfolio while still beating inflation. Remember, that is the biggest thing, that people go broke safely because they don't take any risk, and then they lose out to this little thing that is the almighty dollar, the cost of goods going up every single year. And, we estimate that to be around 4% right now. So that means you're losing 4% from day one every year. Mm-hmm. Okay, and you got to overcome that. So, one of the things that we did was help this family put together a portfolio. And Aaron's going to talk to you about what he did to be able to combat this inflation, yet at the same time mitigate the risk inside of there. Because I think that's what everybody is looking for in the world like today when it's extremely volatile.
Yes, that's exactly right. Number one, we have to keep competitive with our purchasing dollar. And from a long-term investing standpoint, we have to be able to control our investing emotions, because our behavior is what destroys our portfolio almost 100% of the time. If you look at when you've made a major decision on a change in allocation in your portfolio, it's either right after the market's gone down or right after the market's gone way up. So guess what? You've got the worst of it, and you missed out on the best
of it. Yeah.
So and if you would have stuck with it all the way through, you'd have got what you deserved as a return, what you should have got as a return
for the risk you were taking.
Right. So that's the most important step, is to determine what kind of risk you can handle, and then there are some great tools out there that can get you the best of both worlds. We actually have CDs as in FDIC insurance, up to the regular CD amounts, and we can have those CDs tied to a market. So if we want to capture some of the market returns, or if interest rates were to go back up, we could get almost all of some market returns and zero downside. That's a great thing.
That is a heck of a deal.
And if you're looking at 7, 6, 7, 8% return a year, doesn't that beat zero that you can get
0.1
now? I mean, so, and if emotions are making you change your allocation now, there's some ways to get the same type of return and reduce that risk. There's some other tools as well that we've really liked, and those are some notes that will capture the first 25% of your loss. So if the market was down 25%, you do not experience that. That is absorbed. You would capture anything greater than a 25% loss. So let's say if the market was down 30%, you would be down 5. If the market was down 20%, you would be down 0. And if you can stomach that kind of risk, then we can get you almost 100% of the market returns.
Wow. That's pretty
And
impressive.
That is a big game changer.
Yeah, that is a big game changer. And I think that leaves us with really good food for thought today because, we've been going through the 6 lessons learned from the recession. And, this couldn't come at a more perfect timing. I tell you what, because, we looked at each other, I think, on Friday, and everybody had a little hoopla in the office that Brexit had happened. Because it could mean some big things for the future. Just so don't let it fear you. But if you can't handle the roller coaster, you probably need to be talking to somebody about what you can do. The world is rapidly changing, and you need to have someone helping you. Bottom line, period. Everybody does. I do. He's sitting right next to me. And I could do it on my own. I know I could do it on my own, but I don't want to because I'm emotionally attached to my dollar. I'm freely admitting that. So I think it's really important for us to consider that. We appreciate every week you listen into the show with us. Make sure you go on, download our special report at Kennedy-financial.com. Visit us on Facebook. Do our poll on Twitter. Let us know, do you have a plan in place for Brexit at KFS Life Planning? My name is Angela Robinson with Kennedy Financial Services. Thank you to Aaron Kennedy for being on the show with us. Blessed to have you always. And wish everybody a great week. God bless and stay disciplined.
We will see you next time for another edition of Life Planning 101.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Kennedy Financial Services of Eastland. Tune in every Monday morning at 8:30 on KATX and again on Saturday morning at 9 o'clock on KATX and KWBY for more Life Planning 101.
Securities and investment advisory services offered through VSR Financial Services Incorporated, a registered investment advisor and member of FINRA SIPC. Kennedy Financial Services is not owned or controlled by VSR Financial Services Incorporated.